Let's go to the Loud Security Systems newsmaker line. Bring on Charlie Culberson, joins us on the show. Charlie, you played for Walt out in Denver. What do you like about the Braves hiring Walt as the new manager?
Yeah, I did. I love playing for Walt. Walt can be scary. That's the thing. He's a big guy. He's strong. I feel like he can run through a brick wall. I love Walt to death. Yeah, you guys are talking about it. So many people have so many opinions no matter what they did. There's going to be people that are mad. Why do this? All of this to stay in-house. Let's be honest. The Braves, half the roster was hurt this past year, and they were all like superstars, all-star pitchers. Their whole starting staff was on the IL. Austin Riley hurt, Acuna out. It didn't matter who was managing. It was going to be tough for them to win. And I think Walt, with him being there for so long, already being a bench coach, everybody knows him. He knows how things work. I really like the hire. Yeah, Danny Lehman's name was thrown out there. Ryan Flaherty, I think, was thrown out, and many others, right? But, Walt knows the Braves. He knows how things work. And then you have a healthy team next year, and they win. It looks like a genius move, right? So I like the hire. I have a ton of respect for Walt and what he has done in the game of baseball up until this point, and I think he'll be a great fit for this team.
Charlie, you've played around the league at a lot of different spots, and we've talked about this really ever since the Walt Weiss hire was official about an hour ago, how big of a deal the Braves way is and what the culture in the clubhouse means. What does that mean after being in this clubhouse for multiple years?
Yeah, it was obviously before my time, too. It's been for a long time, but a lot of guys were like the Bobby Cox way, Yeah. So when you hear Bobby Cox, you think Atlanta Braves and all those division titles and the World Series and the respect that he garnered from all players. Only great things to say. He had a lot of great players, too, but really good teams. Walt kind of fits that mold perfectly. He played for the team back in the 90s. And a cool fact, too, like Walt only played shortstop in the major leagues. That's really hard to do. And nowadays, guys, and if in certain roles, they kind of have to stay in their lane because there's so many coaches. And you can't really say a ton, right? Even as a bench coach. Like I had Walt tell me some fielding advice a few years back, and it was so simple, but it was like I approached him for that, and he gave it to me. I loved Ron Washington and what he did, but, I feel like, again, Walt fits that mold perfectly. Again, a healthy team, put them on the field, right in Acuna, right in Profar, right in Matt Olson every day. Like, those guys will come to play. And like I said earlier, Walt can run through a brick wall, and these guys should and want to do that for him.
Charlie, do you think the staff will stay in place? Kranitz, and particularly him because he's the pitching coach. I think that's a huge job.
Yeah, I think all those guys from Chris Sale down love Rick Kranitz and what he's able to do and how he talks to these guys and works with them. They've obviously developed a great relationship, but that's new to me, right? I've never been on the side of like being a manager and having to hire a new staff, and so I'm not really sure how that's going to look. That's not for me to say. I don't really have an opinion on that. But when you do have a new manager hire, there will be new hires on a team. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting. Hopefully it's not as hush-hush as this whole process was, but it was, an hour ago when the news came out, my phone started blowing up as well as everybody else's, because everybody's got an opinion, and it's like, oh, why Walt? I think they put a lot of thought into this process, and there's a very good reason why Walt Weiss is the next manager for the Braves.
Charlie, like we talked about earlier, you were on the Rockies when Walt Weiss was the manager, and obviously he was the bench coach when you were here. A lot's happened over the course of that time period in terms of how baseball is viewed, the analytics and things like that. How did you see him evolve sort of in that department throughout his career when you saw him as a manager, but then when you came back and saw him as a bench coach with the Braves?
Yeah, I played parts of a couple seasons in Colorado. We had superstars over there. Being able to play with Todd Helton, Troy Tulowitzki, Justin Morneau, Carlos Gonzalez, list goes on and on, Charlie Blackmon. But it's so hard to win in Colorado, no matter what team you put out there, it's just so hard to win. So I think that was just a tall task, and it is for any manager for the Rockies. Transitioning to a bench coach role, I think I'm not going to say it's easy by no means, but you have different responsibilities. A manager has to, talk to the press every single day before and after the game, manage players, manage front office. There was just a lot more that goes into that. I loved playing for him as a manager when he was my manager. I loved playing for him as well when he was a bench coach for me, because the communication aspect, not just in baseball, but just in life, right? If you can communicate, then things typically work out pretty well. So there was a lot of times as a player, I would talk to him before games, what to expect. He would talk to me, kind of give me what I needed to do to get ready for the game as well. Just a little insight, a little heads up. So communication's key. I think Walt does a great job with that. And again, he's a guy that I would love to coach under Walt, just because I've been around him enough. So again, I like it. Everyone else is going to have their opinions. That's my opinion.
Alex is known as heavy on the analytics side. What about Walt?
Yeah, I mean, Walt's old school. He's old school. But I think he's definitely evolved. He's had to. All these coaches and managers have had to evolve to a certain extent, right, with all the new analytics in the game. And, I don't know exactly how it works, writing out a lineup, talking with front offices. I'm not sure. I think they do talk probably a lot more, if I had to guess now, about certain players, opponents, when to throw a certain guy. There's definitely more dialogue, if I had to guess, going into a game or a series. But I think Walt's done a great job, from my point of view, being able to, transition from just typical old school and this new school of baseball with the analytics. And so he's been around it, right? He's been with AA for a while here in Atlanta, and he knows exactly what Alex, how he thinks and how he talks. And I think they have a good line of communication. And there's probably one of the reasons why they hired Walt within instead of going outside.
Charlie, now the foundation of the new era is set and free agency coming up in a couple of days. What is the one position, one question mark that you want answered more than anything else on this Braves team?
That I want answered. I like it. I think shortstop. Shortstop's a big position. I had a chance to play with Dansby here, and, they've had a long line of really talented shortstops, and Nick Allen's another talented shortstop, very good with the glove. And I've said this before, when you have everybody healthy, it makes a guy like Nick Allen in a lineup better. But when everyone's not healthy and your everyday guys, your superstars aren't really performing up to the standard that they usually are, it makes it a lot more difficult for a guy like Nick Allen to step in and do well. And there's more pressure, and on him, a guy like him in the box. If everybody's healthy, I think he has a better offensive season. Numbers-wise, I think he had a lot of good at-bats, but I think shortstop is your number one choice and priority right now.
Any chance he could be a player coach? Walt could pick it out there still, it looks like.
No, I'll tell you. I mean, again, talking with him and just thinking 14 years in the major leagues, and he only played one position, and that's shortstop. I mean, I know that was 80s and 90s, but still, that's really, really, really hard to do. I think he could still pick it.
Hey, Charlie, thanks so much for jumping on with us and offering up your insight. Much appreciated, man.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on.